All right. Are you guys pumped up and ready for this chapter? Because I'm ready for this chapter. Gadoosh! Oh, yeah. I've been excited for this all week. I've been having dreams about it, you know? End of the last chapter. Garp is on his back. You think he's down and out. But you don't know Garp, and I know Garp. And Garp is saying to Koby, don't freak out, justice will prevail. Now, Garp, I don't know if anybody knows this about him, but he has kind of his own language that you really have to know Garp to really understand. So, when Garp says justice will prevail, that's basically code for I'm gonna get back up, go 100%, and just boosh! Punch the damn ground so hard it's gonna split the entire planet in two. So I've been waiting for this. Alright, chapter 1088, the final lesson. Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be Kuzan's final lesson. It's gonna be everybody on Hachinosu's final lesson. Alright, here we go. But before we get to that, I actually do want to cover the Shonen Jump cover, as well as the double-page spread this week, because it is very unique. It is regarding the One Piece live-action adaptation on Netflix that is going to be airing at the end of August. So it's already almost the end of July, so we got a little bit over a month until that airs, and the cover of Shonen Jump is pretty unique this week because it's actually of a real-life person. I was going to say character. Well, it's a real-life person playing a character. It is Iñaki Godoy, who is going to be playing Luffy in the Netflix series, and he's there on the cover with Luffy, actually drawn by Oda. So there's like a photo of Iñaki that Oda drew Luffy like around, and they're like hanging out and just be like, hey, check it out, it's me in live action. Cool, right? Neat. So he's there in full costume. He's got the scar, he's got the straw hat, he's got the vest. We already saw Iñaki as Luffy in the trailers and all the promotional images and everything like that. And so seems like a pretty cool dude for the role, so I'm really excited to see where that's going to go. And on top of that, the cover spread of the chapter is the original 5 Straw Hats, so the 5 from the East Blue that will be appearing in the live action, because the first season of the live action is going to be the East Blue arc. So we have the original 5 Straw Hats drawn by Oda, but he's trying to draw them like as he would have back then. So that's actually cool in its own right, that like Oda is going back and trying to draw like East Blue Nami, East Blue Usopp. And it really does. If you ever go back and look at the original introductions for these characters, like for example, this is Usopp when he first appeared in chapter 23. So you can see his face, like his forehead is a little bigger than it is here, and like the bandana and everything. Like Oda hadn't really nailed down the style yet. So it's interesting to see him go back and draw them as he would have drawn them over 20 years ago at this point. I'd say Luffy and Sanji and Zoro pretty much look the same. The outfits Oda drew them with seem to be with the Arlong Park outfit, with Nami wearing like her green tank top. Zoro's got his stylish Hawaiian shirt. Wow, he even drew Zoro with the bandages after he got slashed by Mihawk. So yeah, this is the Arlong Park Straw Hats right here. Nami, I think, pretty much looks exactly the same as well, except I think Oda gave her like a little bit of a different, more detailed hairstyle than he did in the East. But yeah, other than that, behind them we have like overlays in the background of all of the major characters in the East Blue. So we have Shanks, we have Koby, we have Buggy, we have Kuro, we have Mihawk, we have Garp, we have Arlong, and we have, I think that's Morgan's behind Sanji. That one's kind of hard to see, but it looks like he has like the steel jaw. So I'm thinking it's or the iron jaw. So yeah, I think that's Morgan's back there. All of these characters have been cast for the live action already. You can go and check out the full cast list. Like we know who's playing Garp, we know who's playing Arlong and Buggy and everything like that. So the Jeff Ward is playing Buggy, and if you ever saw the trailer, he's looking pretty intimidating as Buggy. So I'm excited. Tomorrow's studio X Netflix, and so that's the studio that's going to be working with it to create the show. And yeah, we'll see where that goes. But this is the big cover for that. Alright, so with that all being said, let's dive right into this. Chapter 1088! And we start with a flashback. But that's okay, because if manga has taught me anything, especially shonen manga, reading it over the years, usually a chapter that starts off with a flashback is usually going to have something really badass in it, or it's going to be something really tragic. I guess in theory you could have both, but what are the odds of that happening, really? Okay, so we actually cut back to the former Marine HQ, which was Marineford, okay? Now this is 2 years ago. This was before the time skip, but more specifically, this is taking place after Koby and Helmeppo have been recruited by Garp, taken to Marine HQ to train personally under him, okay? So the story with that, really quickly, is one of the very first cover series of One Piece. I don't think it was the first one, I think it was the second one, because the first one was the buggy one. Second one was the Diary of Koby Meppo, which chronicled what happened to Koby and Helmeppo after the events of the Shelltown arc, okay? So Morgan basically is turned over to Vice Admiral Garp, he escapes, kidnaps Helmeppo, uses him as a hostage, Koby risks it all to save his friend, even facing, you know, like, justice by the Marines, like, hey, shore boy Koby, you know, you were interfering with this operation to deal with Morgan, you know, and everything like that. So, basically, Garp intercedes there, and he's like, you know, I like your moxie, kids, you know, come train with me at Marine HQ. And, we kind of gloss over a lot of the training. It's mostly done by Bogart, you know, bless Bogart. Bogart basically trains them in the basics of, like, you know, sword play, giving them, like, you know, like bokens, like wooden swords to, like, smack the crap out of each other with. They do a lot of sit-ups, they do a lot of push-ups, they do a lot of runs, they drink plenty of juice, all the things a young Marine needs to grow big and strong, right? So we're just diving a little bit more into that training. So we actually see Koby back in his, like, little dorky self, back like he was when Luffy first met him. Just like, oh boy, everybody, oh geez, I'm in the Marines. I guess East Blue Kobe's kind of like Morty, like a little bit there. Anyway, they're at Marine HQ. They're in kind of like a college classroom or whatever, which I guess that would make sense. Marine HQ would have classrooms to train the next generation and all that. And just specifically here, we have like a guest instructor. Like there's like a normal instructor for the Marines. Like I imagine this is pretty basic stuff, like in like boot camp. I'm assuming not all of boot camp is just like hut. What is that? Is that football or is that the Marine? I don't know. I don't know anything about either football or the military. I don't know. But I'm sure when you go to boot camp, somebody could probably clarify. I'm assuming there's classes at boot camp where you actually learn stuff, not just like how to twirl a gun or run around a lot. I'm sure there's actual education involved here. So there's like normal instructors that will teach, you know, the Marines, but Garp is like a special instructor for the day. So he just walks in. This would be great. Imagine if you've ever been in the military. Imagine being in the military and then, okay, we have a special guest instructor here. And then Garp walks in. He just like barrel chests his way into the classroom. All right, students, my name is Garp. You might know me. He just writes the fist on the chalkboard. You might know me as the fist. And everybody in the classroom is like, oh my God, this is incredible. And he's like, all right, I got a lesson for all of you today. Now, let's say you got a baby and you got an old man on an island filled with very fierce wild beasts, and your boat only can have 2 people in it at any given time. So it's you, the Marine, an old man, and a baby about to be devoured by wild beasts. What do you do in this scenario? Okay, now if it was me in the classroom, I would probably give some really sarcastic answer that was like, well, I would try to tame the wild beast so we could work together. And it's like, wrong answer! It's like, okay, I would, I guess abandon the old man. I mean, if this was William from One Piece D&D, you know, that would be what he would do. I don't think that's the right answer, but this would be an easy solution to William. He would just take out his gun and just be like, oh, okay, oh, what happened? Oh, the old man's dead. All right, kid, let's go. You know, that would be what William would do, but let's not base our lives off of that character, all right? Maybe we could build a small town on the island and the animals could help us or something, right? But of course, no. Koby stands up and he gives the correct moral answer to this question, and that is, of course, well, as a lawful good Marine, what I would do is I would take my boat that can only hold 2 people. By the way, one of them's a baby. Babies don't take up that much space. I'm sure you could easily, like, this is kind of a flawed question now that I'm thinking about it, because couldn't Koby or the old man just hold the baby? And it's like, what? It's like, the ship is so big, it can fit 2 adults, but nothing more than that. Not even an infant. It's like, okay, a little strange. But anyway, yeah. So Koby says, well, because my boat can only hold 2 people, I would stay behind on the island with the wild beasts, and the old man and the baby would escape. They would be the ones to escape. It matters more that they got away rather than myself. And to which Garp just takes a bottle and just chucks it right at Koby's head. Wrong answer! By the way, the instructor The instructors, like the main instructors in the background, just kind of like, all right, he's chucking bottles at the students. That's not really great. Also, in the background, we see Helmeppo sitting next to Koby. Koby is still wearing his chore boy outfit that says Zatsuyo on the back, which means chore boy in Japanese. It's like the lowest rank of the Marines. It's not even an official rank, honestly. The first official rank is seaman recruit. You're not even that good. You're not even high enough to be a seaman. You're just a Zatsuyo. You're just a chore boy, right? So Helmeppo's next to him. The person next to Helmeppo, we don't see their face, but they're wearing a hat very similar to Kujaku, so it might be her. Also behind Koby, we see Prince Groose, also in like a recruit attire, okay? Now, this is fascinating to me because this lends a whole new perspective on Koby and Prince Groose's like attitude towards one another. I always assumed Prince Groose was like in the Marines longer than Koby was, but from what it looks like in this chapter, they joined at about the same time. They were both like recruits during when this is happening. Granted, Koby's there under special circumstances, Helmeppo is as well. They're chore boys attending this class. Meanwhile, Prince Groose back there is probably like a recruit or an apprentice or like maybe a slightly higher like official rank, okay? But this is cool because if they joined at roughly the same time in just the 2 years, I guess a little bit over 2 years, because this was like right around the time the Straw Hats were entering the Grand Line, okay? So from like the time the Straw Hats entered the Grand Line to the time the 2-year time skip begins, I think that's about maybe at least 6 months or so. So this is probably like 2.5 years ago or some such that this class is occurring. So, you know, Prince Groose and Koby are around the same rank. That means Koby went from a chore boy to a captain in 2.5 years, and Prince Groose went from like a seaman, apprentice or recruit, all the way up to a rear admiral in about the same time. That is impressive, and Kujaku did as well, if she's also the one in this class. I also like to think that if we're going along with like a school life kind of situation with the Marines, Koby is kind of like the Naruto of this universe, where he's kind of looked down upon by everybody, and he doesn't seem like he's that good, but he's got a lot of inherent potential. And Prince Groose is back there as like Sasuke, and he's like the cool guy in class that's like really good at everything. He has like high aptitude, he scores hundreds on like all of his tests. The physical, he does an amazing job. He can just run, you know, circles around everyone else. He could climb that rope in 2 seconds. Meanwhile, Koby's like struggling to even get on it. Like, oh, I fell, I got rope burn, ow! You know, and so that's kind of the dynamic here, and that would also lead to Prince Groose having a higher rank than Koby, which he does. Wrong answer, Koby! What you really gotta do is leave the half-dead old geezer behind. Oh my god, is that really the lesson here? Okay, shit. Alright, so Garp and William would have been amazing drinking buddies. That's fantastic. You know what? That's canon now. I'm not sure how that would have fit in there, but somewhere along the lines, William and Garp met at a bar. Maybe William is dressed up in a disguise or whatever, and they're having a conversation. It's like, you know who I really hate? Old people? Damn straight! So yeah, Garp doesn't really care too much about the lesson he's imparting here. He's just like, look, the old man's gonna die. The Marines are about defending the future of the world, okay? So yourself, who, you know, you're a young Marine just getting started, and then that baby who has their entire life in front of them, okay? Leave the old man to die, kick him in the dirt, and then get on that ship and then watch him be devoured by angry lions as you leave. So, obviously the instructor, the main instructor, is like, okay, well everybody, that was guest instructor Garb. Let's just forget everything he just said. Can I see you in my office? So, the instructor kind of takes Garp away and kind of bashes him on the head. He's just sitting there eating a donut, and he's like, you can't be teaching that to the class. You know, all lives are equal. I mean, except if you're a Tenryubito, but other than that, all lives are ostensibly equal. We live in this world. We're Marines, damn it. And Garp is just there saying, but, you know, the potential of the youth of the world is limitless, all right? So this is really a cool way to look at Garp's perspective here, okay? Garp's kind of like, he knows that he's past his prime, okay? Instead of becoming, like, depressed over that, or trying to hang on to, like, what power he has or anything like that, he begins to, like, look to the future. He looks out at all the young Marines that are joining up, like Koby and Helmeppo. In fact, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Koby and Helmeppo were weren't the only people that Garp recruited that way. When Garp was in the East Blue and he saw Koby and Helmeppo, and he pretty much just immediately decided, like, I like you guys, you're gonna join the Marines. Maybe he did that with Prince Groose. Maybe he did that with some other members. He was like traveling around the world, and whenever he saw like a promising, strong, young civilian, he was like, you're gonna join the Marines and work under me. And they're all like, we don't want to. Well, you're going to. Let's go. And so because of that, he's like, man, the future generation of the Marines is gonna be badass. They're gonna be strong. They gotta be, to face all the threats that are coming down the pipeline now with the Great Pirate Era. Okay, so that's kind of like what motivates Garp now. It's not about himself. He's literally, the reason Garp gets out of bed every morning is to, like, before I kick the bucket, before this old heart stops beating, I'm gonna make sure to train up all these Marines so they're just as strong as I could be, like that kind of, just as strong as I was in my heyday, That's what's gonna motivate me every single day, And it also sets up some stuff that's gonna happen later in this chapter. But yeah, it was a very interesting look into Garp's tutelage, Garp's training or teaching methods, as it were. Right? Yes. So now we're gonna flash forward a little bit into the future, but not all the way back to where we are right now at Hachinosu. This is a few weeks ago at Amazon Lily. So this was right after the attack of Blackbeard, trying to grab and kidnap Boa Hancock, trying to take away her love fruit power, and then Rayleigh showed up and he just kind of stomped all that out because everybody stops playing when, Daddy Rayleigh comes home. And just like, all right, kids, I got a hell of a migraine. Stop whatever you're doing. And they're like, okay, Rayleigh's home. So Blackbeard decided to stand down, but he's not just gonna walk away from this, okay? He sailed all the way out into the middle of the Calm Belt. They had to deal with Sea Kings and all that crap. He's not going home empty-handed. So he's like, all right, I can't kill any of the Kuja. I can't get the love fruit. I can't mess with the Kuja because, Rayleigh and Shockey and everybody are here. All right. But you know who else is on the island? The Marines. So Blackbeard effectively was like, all right, I'm taking 800 Marines and a battleship back to Hachinosu with me. Zahahaha! You gonna stop me, Marines? And remember, the commanding officer for this operation was Vice Admiral Yamakaji, okay? He was a captain in pre-time skip. He was one of the dudes that was attending the buster call at Eni's lobby, right? And Yamakaji's there, and since he radioed into HQ with like, I'm at Amazon Lily right now, and Blackbeard's here, one of the emperors, and yeah, he's gonna take 800 Marines and a battleship back. Do we have permission to engage? Just give them a second. They might take a while to get back to me. Just give it a minute, Blackbeard. Just give me a minute. Meanwhile, Blackbeard's over there tapping his foot like, wait, what am I waiting around for? I'm a pirate, matey. Zay-ha-ha-ha! It's like, no, wait, they'll call right back. They'll call right back. Hey, can we get a permission to engage? My men are currently pissing themselves in fear of being taken away to a pirate island. Can I please engage? All right, well, I guess that's all it is to it. Okay, so, dude, Yamakaji, I think he's gonna get a lot of flack from this chapter. He's literally just allowing his men to be kidnapped, to be taken away by an emperor. But you know what? That's the status quo in the world. If the Marines all obeyed the status quo, that is what Yamakaji is doing right now, right? He's like, listen, the emperors are one of the 3 great powers that maintain order in the world, okay? You cannot engage one just willy-nilly. You need to have the permission from the higher-ups. Now, Garp doesn't care about that. Rob Lucci didn't care about that when he engaged Luffy at Egghead. He was like, oh, he's not my emperor. I didn't vote for him, and then Lucci just fights Luffy, right? But under normal circumstances, a normal high-ranking Marine that is doing his job correctly, as according to the Marine Handbook, would allow this, I guess, because it's just like, if it was any other pirate, I guess, sure. But if it's an emperor, they can kind of get away with it, because if you wage war with an emperor, that's like a whole thing, right? So Yamakaji is not happy about it, but he's just letting it happen, right? But then Koby steps up. Koby, who's a captain, steps up, and Yamakaji's about to be like, wait a second, Captain Koby, you don't have permission. And then somebody just kind of whispers in Yamakaji's ear, like, you know, Koby's a member of Sword. And Yamakaji's like, oh, he's one of those. Okay, well, I guess it's whatever he wants to do then, because Sword is not, they've technically already resigned, so Koby really doesn't have any official rank. So anything that happens to him is like on his own time, basically, kind of thing, right? So Koby walks up to Blackbeard being lawfully good. By the way, Koby is extremely lawful good. He is one of the most lawful good characters. He might give T-Bone a run for his money eventually. I think T-Bone still kind of edges out Koby a little bit, but the lawful goodness, it's very syrupy sweet in this chapter, okay? So Koby walks up and he's just like, you know, how about instead of taking 800 Marines in the battleship, how about you just take me, Blackbeard? And Blackbeard looks at him, he's like, ah, hero of the Marines, you want to start something? Nope, I'm just handing myself over. Take me and not my men. And then all of the Marines are obviously like, oh my god, Captain Koby, you would do that for us? Oh my god, you're so amazing, thank you so much, I don't want to die. You know, like that. Imagine that. Imagine just being Marine recruits, being sent to Amazon Lily, first of all, to bring in a warlord. Then you find out Blackbeard's there, and then Seraphim are blowing shit up, and you're like, okay, I'm not getting involved with this. And then the fight comes, like Rayleigh shows up, and the fight's over, and you kind of take a breath of air, like, oh, thank God, we don't have to do that today. And then Blackbeard just rounds y'all up, and it's like, oh no, now this. By the way, in case you're wondering why Rayleigh is not doing anything here, like, well, Rayleigh's a pirate, why would he be helping out the Marines? And Rayleigh has to stay behind with Boa, because that's the whole reason he showed up, to help out Boa and the Kuja tribe, not to help out the Marines, okay? Rayleigh's pretty damn powerful, but he can't be in two places at once. And remember, Rayleigh himself said, I don't know if I could take Blackbeard in my old age. I'm kind of up in years, and he's sort of in his prime right now, and he's got all these abilities that we don't know about, right? So Rayleigh's back at the village. He's back hanging out with Boa and her sisters, and Gloriosa, and Shaki's there and everything. They're not getting involved with this. This is all happening at the shore. Rayleigh probably doesn't even know this is going on right now, okay? But he's not leaving the village, so he's not going to intercede here, okay? So Blackbeard realizes that, and he's like, all right, I can't do anything with the village, and I can't do anything with Amazon Lily, but I can mess with the Marines still, all right? He's going to get something out of this. So, Blackbeard kind of looks at him and he's just like, ah, you think of yourself pretty highly. You think one of you is worth 800 Marines in a battleship? And I guess he does agree with that because, well, you saw what happened. Koby eventually did end up going with Blackbeard. He's with them. They were on the island. That's how he ended up there, right? So I guess Blackbeard crunched the numbers a little bit. He took out his little calculator and he's like, hold on a minute, Zehaha. Yeah, all right, I guess you're worth at least 1,000 Marines. All right, fine, I'll take you. Come on. Less space, less food to be eaten on the way there. Let's go. So that's how Koby turned himself over to Blackbeard, right? So now we're cutting back to Hachinosu, okay? Where did we leave off last time? Oh, yeah, here comes the giant fist! So Avala Pizarro is in control of the island with his island fruit. He's bringing down his giant island palm, about to crush Garp's ship full of Marines and the evacuees from Hachinosu that were the slaves that were captured there. So everybody's losing their shit. They're firing cannons. They're trying to blow it up, but this thing is massive. It's literally like a giant mountain falling out of the sky right on them. So, you know, cannon fire's not going to do anything, right? So Tashigi is kind of taking command here because, well, Tashigi's interesting because the highest ranking officer on the ship would actually be right now Kujaku or maybe Bogard, because Bogard is on the ship. We saw him in the last chapter. He was just cut off on one of the pages, but he was there. We don't know Bogard's rank, but he's kind of like Garp's second in command, but he's not making the orders. Kujaku's kind of freaking out, and Tashigi is actually the one kind of taking command here, like, prepare to abandon ship, because if this thing's coming down and no one's stopping it, we got to get off the ship. So she's kind of taking charge. Good for you, Tashigi, right? She's the same rank as Koby, by the way. She's still a captain, okay? And she's not a member of Sword, so there you go. So, cutting back to the island here, we have Prince Groose and Helmeppo and Koby kind of fighting off the pirates as Garp's lying on the ground here. And he's just, and everyone's freaking out, like, oh my god, all the people will die, we gotta get over there, we gotta save them, but Garp is, what's going on? Everyone's freaking out. And then Garp just kind of is just like, everybody calm down. I'm gonna go give you guys an opening, and you make it to the ship and you save it. Here's what's gonna happen. Koby, you're gonna jump in the air and you're gonna destroy that giant fist. And Koby's like, okay. Prince Screws, you're gonna make sure all of the debris doesn't crush the ship. He's like, okay, I'm the future of the Marines, right? Whatever. Helmeppo, you're gonna make sure that they can do that nobody stops them. And Helmeppo's like, I'm not really sure about that. You know, oh, you have your orders, Marines, move out! It's like, oh, okay, zip, and then they all move out, all right? That was actually a really cool scene because, you know, Garp's on the ground, he's giving out orders, and even though Helmeppo is Helmeppo, and he's like, I'm not really sure I can deal with this, when Garp says, you have your orders, Marines, move out, they all soru away. They all zip, 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 including Helmeppo. They're on the task, because they don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but Garp gave him an order, and this is the Marines. You follow the structure, even when things get intense. I imagine, okay, once again, don't know anything about military, don't know anything about boot camp, but I am assuming there's probably a lesson at some point, like maybe some kind of psychological class maybe, where they teach you how to deal with things under insane pressure, under situations that you would encounter on the battlefield that you would never possibly have seen yourself in your entire life. And obviously you can't be prepared for every single permeation of every single situation. That's just impossible. But I'm sure there's some kind of lesson that's like, you obey your commanding officer. When you're in a situation like that, when bombs and shit are blowing up around you and you're getting fired upon and you know what's going on, when your commanding officer gives you an order, you do it, all right? So I'm assuming it's something like that, and Garp gave the order, so they're on it, right? They're going. So now Garp is unguarded, so they begin to advance on Garp, and at the same time, the Marines start to kind of chase after Koby and everybody, because they're like, oh, you think you can do shit without Garp? Garp was the only reason that you were able to get this far. Now we're going to be able to skewer all of you. You're not going to be able to do anything. Koby the hero, I think it's going to your head here, right? So Koby is running off with Prince Screws. They're way ahead because their Soru is like really good, right? So they're like, you know, they're flash stepping in tandem right now. And Prince Screws looks over at Koby and is like, how are you gonna destroy that giant fist? Are you packing like a bomb or like dynamite or something? And Koby's just like, I don't know. And then at that moment, that's when Koby flashes back to when Garp told him, he's like, Koby, after the Marineford battle, I decided to install a nuclear reactor inside of your heart. Use it when you have to, Koby. I'll give you the order. No, that didn't actually happen. I just really want there to be a nuclear bomb in somebody's chest here. Anyway, well, Nami does have two. So does Robin. So does Boa. So does Khalifa. A lot of characters that have bombs in their chest. Now I'm actually thinking about it in this series, huh? Anyway, Koby's like, I'm not really sure. I don't have a bomb or anything. I don't have like some antimatter on me to destroy that giant fist. But I do have something that might work. Not really sure, because Koby's very humble. He's like, oh, gee, I don't know if I have something I could try. I don't know if it's going to work, but Garp ordered me to do it. I'm going to do it. And they're like, all right, I guess we're going to go ahead with this. Okay. At the same time, cannons are firing at Koby and Prince Screws. Helmeppo sees the cannonball coming, and he's a little bit further behind, and he has his Kukiri knives out, and he sees the cannonball. It's like Matrix time. It's just like, it's like, oh man, I gotta protect Koby! Orders from Garp! And so he like hits the cannonball and it explodes. He's fine, he doesn't die or anything like that, but he's effectively, you know, it's just Prince Screws and Koby now while Helmeppo's holding him off. He's got his knives. He's like, stay back, you pirates, sons of bitches! I'm Helmeppo, damn you! You know, Helmeppo's going ham. He's going commando on this, all right? So, yeah. Meanwhile, Garp, he's there surrounded. He's still got the wound from Shiryu, he's bleeding out, and now Aokiji has walked back after getting punched in the jaw. And, well, you knocked off Aokiji's glasses, so, maybe he's down to, like, half HP right now, but Garp, actually banged up Aokiji pretty fierce with this one. He looks like he's bleeding a lot more, he's missing his glasses, and he's just like, oh, man, yeah, okay, Garp, well, you could still stand even with that wound, and he's just like, ha, 'tis but a flesh wound. Give me a couple of donuts and I'll be right as rain. And Aokiji's just like, all right, well, that's good to hear. I wouldn't think that alone would be enough to bring you down. Now, this is where Garp busts out his favorite move. Garp tackle! And he just literally, like, just shoulder checks, just boom! You know, just, like, rushes through the entire crowd. He just, like, hot, hot, hike, and then just charges like a tank top master in One Punch Man or something, right? And he just barrels through, he bowling balls his way through all the pirates and Kuzan. He just like knocks them all aside, and he starts like bouncing off the different like roofs of the buildings. Hachinosu's kind of structured where the island, the town kind of like tears upwards, up toward the giant skull mountain. So Garp is just like just bouncing his way, bowling balling his way up the side of this mountain, and then he reaches it, and Avala Pizarro's looking down, and he's the giant mountain head, and he's just like, wait a second, Garp's coming towards me? Wait, what's he doing? What's he doing? Galaxy Divide. That's what he's doing. Boom! And he just punches the pirate's skull, and it cracks right down the middle. And so does Avala Pizarro's skull, because he is the island. So when he merges with the island, he becomes it. So if it gets cracked in half, he gets cracked in half too. So his head begins to split open. It begins to like blood spray out, and he's like, ah, meow! And but even with that insane damage that Garp just leveled to him, just like punched a mountain in half. So he can destroy a mountain. We were all kind of on the fence about that. He said he could, but we're actually seeing it now, okay? So he punches the mountain. Avala Pizarro's injured, but he's not out yet. He still has the hand over the island, over the boat, and he's like, "Meow! I can still crush this ship, right?" So at the exact same time this is happening, Prince Cruz is there. He's looking over, and he's just like, "Okay, I guess that's Garp's, move. He said he was gonna do something to distract him. I guess that's the signal. Can you do this, Koby?" And Koby's like, I have to live up to his expectations, so I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna die trying. So Koby rockets. He uses Soru and Geppo to fly through the air at breakneck speeds. He's flying up there, and then at the same time, we have a flashback as Garp is busting the island in half. We have a flashback when Garp was training Helmeppo and Koby. So Garp has his special training regiment that they were undergoing, right? Well, even though Koby was improving, he was getting stronger, getting some muscle definition and all that. Every time Koby showed up to train every day, his knuckles, his fists, they were all bloodied and bandaged up and everything and bruised. And Garp eventually asked Helmeppo about it. And Helmeppo's like, man, Koby told me not to tell you, Garp, but he's been sneaking out every night to train on the battleship bags. So even after Garp has his special training regiment, Koby's training even harder. And the reason for that is because Koby realizes that when he was East Blue Koby, when he was after he first met Luffy, he realizes I'm weaker than the average person, so I gotta train 100 times as hard, no, 200 times as hard as the average person, okay? Now, here's the interesting thing with this, and it kind of goes into like One Piece logic a little bit here. So, and there's actually some parallels to My Hero Academia here that I want to bring up, okay? So, there's a realistic way you could do this, which, if you're overtraining your body, if you're trying to train, but you're pushing yourself way too much, that's going to hurt you more than it helps you, okay? That's going to eventually cause your body to just, shut down, all right? If you're just doing nothing but working out 24/7 as soon as you wake up to as soon as you, pass out and go to sleep, okay? And that's kind of the way they do it in My Hero Academia, where at the very beginning of that series, you have All Might training Izuku, and he has this very specific kind of the all-American dream plan, to train Izuku to handle All for One. One for All. All for One, I always confuse them. The one that's the better one. Anyway, so they're training, right? And so Izuku's like, I'm going to train even harder. And then All Might tells him, hey, you can't do that. That's going to have the opposite effect of what we want here, okay? So they had to, adjust the whole plan and everything like that. Now, that was a series that took a more realistic approach about it. Overworking your body is not good. That's not how this works in the One Piece world. In the One Piece world, it's kind of like breaking your limiter from One Punch Man, where literally just keep pushing your body more and more and more, and just keep punching a giant steel battleship, and eventually you get superpowers. You just have to stay dedicated to it. You just gotta be punching a brick wall every night for a month, and you get superpowers after that. You unlock armament hockey if you just do it hard enough. Keep pushing your body. So that's kind of the rule here, I guess, is what we're going with here, right? So now we cut back to the present, where Koby jumps up in the air using Soru and Geppo, and he punches Avala Pizarro's giant fist, and he uses his secret technique, Honesty impact! Boom! And it shatters the entire fist. Like, it just, the entire arm just crumbles in half. Prince Groose uses his clay powers to block it. He makes like a giant spider net to catch all the debris so it doesn't crush the ship, so don't worry about that. So Koby punches out the giant fist. Avella Pizarro's arm just splits and blood starts, spewing out of it. Ah, no! My head, my arm, ow! Normally the island fruit would be a very good fruit where not a lot of people could really injure an island on that level. It doesn't work so well against Garp and Koby, from what it seems. This would be way more impressive, by the way, if we didn't already see Koby shatter like a giant iron ball in an OVA. In fact, it was the episode of Luffy OVA, which was, I think, the first time Koby was ever shown post-time skip. It was in an OVA, not even in the manga, not in a movie or in the anime. It was in an OVA, and he shows up, and one thing that he does is he punches a giant ball of, like, iron, and it, like, shatters. Okay, and it was pretty big. It wasn't as big as Avella Pizarro's fist, but we've kind of already seen him doing something like this before, so it's not as impressive, because, like, in this chapter, Prince Groose and everybody is like, Koby, can you even do something like that? Like, there's an underlying theme in the chapter here that's like, Koby is not strong enough to, like, punch out a giant fist when he's trained with Garp, and he's a captain, and we've already kind of seen him do this before. So, most of the fans watching this right now, like, know Koby is pretty strong. How strong he was, like, the upper limit, we weren't sure, but this is kind of in his wheelhouse. This is in the ballpark of expectations for Koby to be able to break an entire, giant fist apart. Was he using armament hockey for this? Yes, he was charging up armament. He was going for it. While everybody is cheering him on, okay? You got Kujaku and Tashigi and all the Marines on the ship are looking up like, Koby! Hibari is there, and Hibari's like, Koby senpai, please do it, senpai, go senpai! And her speech just devolves to senpai. Senpai, senpai, senpai! And so Koby's like, yeah! Boosh! Shatters the fist. All the pirates freak out like, what? Koby was able to do that? And so it's the idea, it's like future of the Marines, the torch of the fist lives on, ladies and gentlemen. I think I know what Oda's going for here. So Garp has two titles that he uses in the Marines, not counting his official rank, which is Vice Admiral Garp, but he has Garp the Fist and Garp the Hero. He got the hero from defeating rocks at God Valley. He got the fist for punching out Don Chinjiao. Koby has the title of hero from the Rocky Port incident, and I'm thinking he's also going to get the title of the fist. So Koby's going to inherit both of Garp's titles. I think that's where this is going here, okay? So, Tashigi's looking on in awe. Hibari is looking on in awe, but maybe something else too. She's like, oh my god, Koby senpai! She's like, okay. So the whole thing shatters apart. Meanwhile, Garp is on the island seeing the fist crumble apart, and he's laughing his ass off. He's just like, oh, that's my boy, Koby, that's my boy! Don't worry about Koby. He punches out the fist. Helmeppo catches him, because Koby got a little bit of kickback on that thing. He got a little bit of recoil from that. Helmeppo is also capable of using Soru and Geppo, so he's able to skywalk up there and grab him, and just like, you okay, man? He's like, I'm good. He's like, okay, awesome. So that's all good. Prince Groose blocks the debris. As I said, Helmeppo catches Koby. They all land safely on Garp's marine vessel. And immediately, Hibari runs over and just, like, tackle hugs Koby. She's like, oh my god, Koby, I love you. I mean, just like, oh, so Hibari-san, I'm glad you're okay. And you're like, oh, Koby senpai. Oh, man, okay, all right. I'm not writing a Koby Hibari fan fiction here, per se, ladies and gentlemen. But I am gonna set the stage for you here, okay? So later that night, as the ship is sailing away, trying to get to the nearest marine base, Koby is below decks in the sick bay, right? He's in the infirmary. It's kind of late at night here. It's like 2 a.m. And he's there in bed, and he wakes up, and you see Hibari next to him, tending to his injuries, like changing his bandages. This is the scene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure after Jonathan defeats Dio in like the first arc. You know, the same thing with Jonathan in Arena, except Koby and Hibari. Are you with me so far? Okay. And so they're there, and there's like, oh my god, Koby, watching you destroy, watching you punch out that giant island fist right over me. It's something I will never forget as long as I live. And Kobe's like, oh, that's fine, but you need to get some sleep, Hibari. And she's just like, no, I don't. And so I'm shonen manga. But let's just say that leads one thing to another, and Akainu just wakes up in a cold sweat like, what? Huh? It feels like somebody just walked over my grave. Oh. What was that? You know? And so, there you go. There's your scene for you there. Okay. All right. So, everybody's happy, right? You know, woo, we saved the day. Now all we gotta do, Garp just has to get back to the ship. We sail away. We're copacetic. Everything happened. Awesome. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. And so they're about to sail away when they get the transmission from Garp over the Den Mushi. Tashigi receives it and is like, all right, everybody, time to pull out. And there's like, wait, Garp, we need you. He's like, no, that's an order. Get out of here. Don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself. Don't worry. I'll be fine. You guys got to get out of there, okay? And so we see the last double-page spread of the chapter where Helmeppo and Koby begin freaking out. They're like, wait a second. We need to... Koby still has Hibari around him. Just like, okay, we got to go save Garp, right? And Koby looks over at Prince Groose, and Groose just looks over, and he is crying. He's crying. He's got a little snot coming out of his nose, and because he knows, he's like, look, we gotta listen. Just like we obeyed his order on the island, we have to obey his order now. He's giving himself up so we can escape. We cannot go back to the island. We cannot ignore that order. We need to do what he tells us to. We need to do what he told us to do. We need to get out of here, right? And so Groose realizes that, and he begins to cry because this could mean the end of Garp, but this is kind of what he wanted so we could get away, the future of the Marines. And this is how it all ties back with the beginning lesson that he taught at Marine HQ at the start of the chapter in the flashback, okay? So they decide to keep moving. He's like, so keep moving, and never forget, you are all the future of the Marines. And so we cut back to Hachinosu. Garp is on the ground, frozen or beginning to be frozen. He is impaled with like an ice spear, like not Akainu. Aokiji made an ice spear, stabbed him. He's on the ground and he's still laughing. He's like, oh, ha, 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 ah, ha, and he's like being frozen like how Aokiji froze Saul at Ohara a little bit. Actually, exactly the same way he froze Saul, with Saul still laughing, you know? And, yeah, so that's how that is. Now you might be freaking out here. You might be freaking out like Garp is laughing, he's smiling, and then he's dead. Okay, he's not dead yet. I'm not gonna go on a whole rant about it like I did last time. Garp's not dead yet. Let's just leave it at that. He's not dead yet. If you want to think he's dead, okay, great, you're wrong. He's not dead yet, though. Okay. And so with that being said, we end the chapter out with the narrator coming on and saying that in the next day's newspaper, the story is that, you know, the young hero Koby successfully rescued from Hachinosu along with all of the captives there. Legendary hero Garp currently missing in action at Hachinosu. Like, they don't know what happened to Garp, okay? That's where the intel ends. And then, meanwhile, another story. The Egghead incident is now occurring as the Marines arrive at Vegapunk's island about to start up the siege of Egghead, okay? Break next week, going now back to the Straw Hats. The Egghead arc is now beginning to go back to Egghead now, alright? This was crazy. This was almost 10 chapters straight without any of the Straw Hats. All right, I think it was chapter 1078. We saw some of the Straw Hats there at the beginning of the chapter. No, 1079. 1079 had half the chapter with the Straw Hats and York and everything with the plan, and then the latter half of 1079 was Shanks and Elbaf and Kid. And from that moment onward, it's just been Kid stuff, Law's stuff, and then Hachinosu with Garp and everything, okay? So it's been almost like 9.5 chapters since we saw the Straw Hats. That's the longest one in One Piece history, really, so it's very impressive. But now we're getting back to it. We see the Marines arriving at Egghead. The Frontier Dome is still up at 100%. The Mark III pacifistas are, you know, patrolling the island. Remember, I'm going to do a whole video on the recap of Egghead, like where we left off, like where everybody is, because there's like a lot of stuff to remember, and that was like well over, well, you know, it was a 5-week break, and then on top of that, it was like another 2 months. So it's been like 3 or 4 months since we've seen the Straw Hats. It's been a while, right? So I'll do a whole recap video on that, but Garp was frozen and captured, but I'm sure this is going to involve the Cross Guild in some way, because the Cross Guild now, I guess, have to pay out 3 billion parries to Blackbeard's crew. I hope Crocodile and Mihawk have that money, because, or Buggy, he's going to be hearing a lot of it there. It's like, why did you have to put Garp's bounty at 3 billion? We have to pay this is a Yonko, Buggy. We can't just stiff him on the payment. We can't be like, oh, all right, sorry, Blackbeard, well, we can't give you the 3 billion right now, but we have this installment plan. And it's just like, no, he's gonna want his damn money, all right? So we got a problem now. So we'll see where that pans out. Break next week, which is unfortunate, but we got these 2 banger chapters in a row. I'm not complaining. Really solid chapter. A lot of good stuff with Koby and even Helmeppo and a little bit of Prince Groose and also Garp's character development in this. A lot of flashbacks. Love to see that. Love to see a lot of more of Garp's personality and the way he views the world and the future generation and everything like that. Justice will prevail, ladies and gentlemen. Justice will prevail. Also, Koby and Hibari are definitely going to bang.